Hello, everybody. Welcome to our little talk about Captain Spirit. I believe we have a trailer we're going to play for you before we get started.
Hello, Saturday morning. I can do anything I want today.
That's not the trailer.
It is not
I
the
can do a
trailer,
training
It is not
session
the
with my
trailer.
power.
but that's okay. We can take a look at some gameplay here.
So let's talk about
Only my
let's talk about it.
brainwaves
Yeah,
So hi, everybody.
indeed. So before we get started with kind of a look at the gameplay here, let's talk about this game. So, The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit is the full name. Kind of a mouthful, but my gosh, Captain Spirit is the best superhero name that a kid could ever ask for. So, Chris is the name of our protagonist here. Can you tell me a little bit about him?
Yeah, of course. So in The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, you play as Chris, who is a young boy, almost 10 years old. He's quite lonely, but he has a really vivid imagination. And he likes, of course, to think he's a superhero, Captain Spirit.
The secret
So over the
treasure is
course
buried out there in the
of Captain
wild.
Spirit, you play
Now, I have to
during
locate the
a really
second part of
typical
the map.
Saturday morning. And Captain Spirit is quite of almost a narrative sandbox where you can just experience this Saturday morning in a lot of different ways. And of course, with the power of imagination, Chris can pretend using his superpowers on different occasions. So you can, for example, stay in your room, play with your toys, or you could just stay with your dad, talk with him, and do different things in the house, or you can just explore the garden, the treehouse. And by doing all that, you will discover, the players will discover a lot of different secrets, different worlds where Chris can go into his imagination, and you will also uncover the story of Chris and his dad.
Obviously, this is set in the Life is Strange universe. You guys have already been talking about that. You work with DONTNOD, the creators of Life is Strange. How many people in the audience have played Life is Strange? Yeah. Did you guys play
Thanks.
the Before the Storm too?
Thank you.
So definitely ready for a little bit more action from this universe. So clearly this is not the characters that we've seen in games before, but you guys had mentioned that we're going to see some things we'll recognize from the universe.
So yeah, just to explain it a bit more, over the past 2 years, we've been working hard on Life is Strange 2 with Square Enix, and you will hear about Life is Strange 2 in the near future, in the coming months. And Captain Spirit is the first entry point into Life is Strange 2. When you play Captain Spirit, you will discover some hints, some clues of what Life is Strange 2 will be, because it takes place in the same setting, the same timeline, and the same universe. And so maybe you're asking also why we wanted to create this experience, to create Captain Spirit and not just go with Life is Strange 2. When we were working on the characters and the story of Life is Strange 2 with the original team of Life is Strange, with Raoul Barbet as a co-director and also Jean-Luc Cano and Christian Divine as writers, we worked a lot on the new characters for the next game, and there was a lot of other characters and other stories that we created for Life is Strange 2 that we really loved, and Chris is one of those. And we really thought that this self-contained story would be really a great entry point and also a great gift for the players to experience. Because I don't think we mentioned it yet, but it will be released in 2 weeks completely for free. So you can just start with Captain Spirit. Even if you never played Life is Strange, or even if you don't want to play Life is Strange 2, you can just go into Captain Spirit and experience what we think is a great story with a beginning and ending. And hopefully, we hope that you like the characters.
Well, I thought it was great that you guys decided to release this for free so that people who had never experienced this franchise before can kind of see what it's all about. And, you know, you guys talked to me about how replayability was such an important part for you guys in releasing this title.
Yeah, we were extremely happy from the beginning when Square Enix allowed us also to think of Captain Spirit as a free experience, because it allowed us to design Captain Spirit somehow in a different way. Like I said, since it's some sort of a narrative sandbox, there is a lot of replay value. You can choose a bit of whatever you want to do in this Saturday morning, and there is a lot of different possibilities to play Captain Spirit. For example, there is some sort of a timeline, and if you're not at the right place at the right moment, you will miss some of the events. So there is definitely a lot of different
Like a rebel.
different ways to play the game, and we hope that
So
the
you
players
must
and
be
the community
excited for
will
Christmas.
want to try to explore different possibilities in Captain Spirit.
Well, I certainly know that I missed a bunch of things in my original Life is Strange playthrough because you would go back and look at the achievements and trophies and be like, oh, there was a photo I was supposed to take somewhere that I totally forgot about. Did that happen to you? Probably not because you made the
Santa
game,
needs
right?
to get me
Oh, it's still a good question because when we've been looking a lot at DONTNOD
Basketball costs
at the
$10.
social networks and what on everything that the players are finding, and sometimes I see people finding out some stuff in the game that I even forgot that we did put it.
Yes,
So
I did.
yeah,
Yes,
I think
we
we have
are.
a really awesome
I just wanna
community
watch
that
the game before we
looks
go,
a lot
okay?
at the game. It takes its time, and that's what for us Captain
I
Spirit
won't
is a gift for this
If I
community
do,
because it's
just
really
wake me up and
um,
we'll go.
containing a lot of
Promise.
small elements that you can find, that you can look out for, and we really think that the fans and the players of Life is
do.
Strange will really love to explore everything. And I don't think we mentioned it, but of course, for the fan of the first Life is Strange,
Go
there are
take
hints
advantage
and
of your
elements
weekend.
in Captain
Perfect
Spirit that we'll
weather outside for
recognize
you to
because
play.
it's the same
Whatever.
world,
free.
even if
Come
it takes
grab you
place
later.
3 years later. It's the same universe, so there is stuff that we'll recognize definitely if you're fans of the first game.
Now, before we take another look at this gameplay, I wanted to let everybody, knowing who is watching on the stream out there on Facebook, that we will be taking a look, if we have some time, some questions. So if you guys have questions about Captain Spirit or questions about DONTNOD as a studio, you can use that hashtag E3 Coliseum. And if we have some time, we'll take a look at them towards the end of the panel. But I love that you guys have kind of incorporated this new mechanic in Captain Spirit. So it's not just the picking the conversation trees. He also has superpowers.
Of course. So you'll see during Captain Spirit that the gameplay is quite similar to the first Life is Strange. Of course, you walk around, you have a lot of interactions, you have dialogues trees, you have some puzzles, and a lot of interactions that will explain you more about the characters, about the story, about the world. But of course, since Chris believes he's a superhero, he also has superpowers. So there is a lot of moments where you can press the trigger and use Captain Spirit's power. So sometimes it can be really simple, like pretending is using his superpower on some objects. But you will discover by playing the game that a lot of other times you can completely go inside his imaginations, like for example, fight some dark monsters in the dark room of the house. I guess when we were kids, there were always places where we were too afraid to go. And in Chris's imagination, those places can turn into a real dangerous world with monsters. There will be other moments. I won't spoil everything, of course. And if you explore the game, you will definitely find a lot of those imaginary moments where you can really use Captain Spirit's powers.
At least I don't have
I
to
mean,
do
I was
that.
definitely afraid of the basement as a kid. Is anybody else afraid of their basement? I wouldn't go down there. My mom would be like, go get the laundry. And I was like only in like broad daylight with all of the lights on. So I think we all kind of like had
I
that
have a
shared
secret kid
experience as kids,
and
which is,
Captain
you know,
Spirit
something that's
wear.
really great about, you know, experiencing Captain Spirit with Chris is that it kind of harkens back to memories that we all have, kind of like that moment in the trailer where it says we were all kids once, right? And I thought it was great that you guys also are introducing quests this time.
Yeah, definitely.
I have the power.
So I think you've seen some of this in the gameplay you're looking at. That
Okay.
we did create
get
this kind
started.
of to-do list
Now
of
let's
quests
try to
that
build the rest
Chris,
of my
as Captain Spirit, wants to achieve. So it can be, like I said, defeating some monsters, either in the basement or in the backyard, or finding some secret treasures that's buried somewhere, or of course completing his costume, because that's something that you will do first when you start Captain Spirit. Is you start to decide what will be your costume. You have a few choices, and of course the costume you will have to create depends of your first choices in the experience. And this will bring you to different parts of the house, so that also brings to the replay value of maybe trying different combinations of the costume. But you're definitely not forced to do all those quests. It's just there to really push the player and push the narrative, but you can also just decide to stay in your room or just to spend time in your dad, like stuff that you're just seeing right now on the gameplay.
I'm a superhero.
We really are not pushing the player to do one sort of playthrough, because like I said, the game is really about what do you do when you're a kid, when you have too much free time and you're just by yourself on a Saturday morning. And this is the kind of experience we like to create at DONTNOD, to somehow sometimes put the players in a situation that you're not used to have in video games most of the times. And we were thinking that what is different from when we were kids to when we are adults. And I think that one of the big difference is that we don't have any more real free time when we're adults. We are never bored. I mean, we are always something to do. We have too much stuff to do when we're adults. And sometimes when you're a kid, you have a lot of free time, and you need to decide what do I do with my free time? And this is the kind of theme that we have in Captain Spirit, that as a kid, you can really decide that a lot of things can be transformed into great adventures, just playing with a few toys, or going into your treehouse, or just playing with snow in the garden. And with that, you can create new narratives, and you will see that on top of course, of those child plays, there is much more to the story than just what it seems right now. That you will discover why Chris is feeling lonely, for example, why his dad is drinking, and also how it is to escape reality by using your imagination.
Do we get to make a snow angel?
So to be honest, you don't. That's something
that
it was planned in the beginning, and that's a spoiler. And I don't remember even why we did remove the opportunity to do so, but you cannot do a snow angel anymore.
It's okay. I forgive you, Michel. Does Captain Spirit run into any other kids in his adventures?
So I cannot say that. You will have to play.
Secrets, everybody.
Yeah, you will definitely have to play Captain Spirit to see everything, because we're only showing you the first steps into Captain Spirit, like some of the first quests, some things that you can do as Chris, but there is much more, and you will need to play Captain Spirit to see how it unveils and also where the story goes. Because, like I said, there is definitely a beginning, an ending, and a lot of different ways and branching to go to that ending. And we are, of course, not showing everything right now.
Well, no, if you showed it all, then it would give it away. I love this moment where he's putting his armor on.
Yeah, this is exactly one of the kind of moments when you can be in Chris's imagination, where basically he's finishing one version of the costume, and yeah, just thinking that he's a real mighty superhero.
The music's just so good.
When actually it's just there.
Just in the closet. No, it was interesting talking with you guys about it, because obviously one of the questions that players would have is how big is the world of Captain Spirit? And it's not just the physical world. You guys have all of these different places that he goes in his imagination.
So it's quite hard to say exactly the length of Captain Spirit. I would say that it's around 2 hours, a couple of hours, but it can be much more if you try to explore everything, if you play it again and again. But yeah, there is definitely lots of content. I think there is more content than for 2 hours of gameplay, but a standard playthrough can be around 2 hours to get you to the ending. And hopefully it will be much more, because you might be wanting to play it again and discover other aspects of the story and other secrets you might have missed.
After the first Life is Strange was released, and you guys were able to kind of look at the fan reaction and just see this incredible kind of outpouring of community rallying around, you know, what this game really was. How did that influence the way that you guys went to set up the design for Captain Spirit?
That's a good question. Of course, we look, like I said, we are looking a lot and reading a lot of the comments of the fan and the reaction of the fan, be it on YouTube, on Reddit, or on Twitter, on Tumblr. And we were so happy with the reception of the first game, because just when we were creating the first Life is Strange, we had no idea that it would be a success, or even that a lot of people would like it. We were just basically creating a set of characters. We wanted to tell the story, and it worked. So we were really happy with that. We've been looking a lot at what you said and other players said, and it seemed to us that what really worked and worked with the players on the first Life is Strange were the characters, their stories, and the themes that were related to the situations they had to deal with, and all the social issues. For example, in the first Life is Strange, it was set in high school, so we were able to talk about bullying, social media bullying, also loneliness. We have a bit, of course, of talking about suicide, and a lot of really heavy themes. And so for us, Life is Strange was to find new characters and new themes we could talk about, and that's how we did approach the creation of Life is Strange 2. I cannot talk about it, but we were thinking of what kind of themes, what kind of social issue we could deal with, and we tried to start creating the new characters, having that in mind, to really what kind of new situations we would bring to the players and have the players reflect upon. And when we were working on Chris, definitely this relationship between a kid and his dad, this kind of loneliness that you can have as a kid, but how, like I said, imagination can help you to overcome this loneliness, was really, for us, a really strong storytelling point that we thought we could create a really interesting experience, a great game around it.
You know, I'm glad that you brought that up because it seems to me that this game seems like it'll have a little bit more levity, a little bit more lightheartedness than perhaps some of the episodes that we've seen, you know, in Life is Strange. Is that going to be the case, or are you guys going to get dark? Is it going to get dark?
I won't say much about that. I think that definitely,
well, there's creepy basements to explore, so it's going to get literally dark at some point.
It definitely has these more uplifting moments, I think, and I hope that you like Chris as a character, and you can see that he's really cheerful and playful, and I hope that we'll smile by looking at what he does and some of the silly things he does. But there is definitely also more adult themes in the story that you will experience, and because that's always what we try to do with Life is Strange, is really to use those relatable everyday life characters that somehow we could relate to, and to also bring interesting story and situations in a new light. And something I didn't mention is that for us, Life is Strange is also bringing some part of supernatural elements on top of that, like a glimpse of the strange. And you will have to discover by yourself also with Captain Spirits how it pans out.
Oh, we're all going to be on the lookout for that crow, always around that thing. I do have a question here from Alexander that I'd like to ask. It's interesting because I picked this up too, but I don't know if it's true. The father of Captain Spirit, is it Frank Bowers?
So
the voices kind of sound the same, right?
So I've read this theory a lot already, so I think I can debunk it right now. It's not Frank. The name is Charles Erickson, but I can see why people might have thought that some of the haircut and everything. It's definitely not the same voice actor either. So yeah, sorry about that. Sorry to debunk this theory.
Is there any other types of gameplay mechanics that you guys were tinkering around with or toying with, testing out to see if they would work with Captain Spirit?
Yeah, of course. We've looked a lot at Life is Strange, the first Life is Strange, and trying to see what we could improve for the next games. So in terms of mechanics, there is of course this new mechanics of Captain Spirit superpower and those alternate universe imaginary worlds. But there is also a new, more simple mechanics that we really like. Oh, now we have the trailer.
There it is.
Oh no, okay, I see. It's a content that only you are seeing right now. It was really exclusive content. It's just one of the Zen moments. You know, in the first Life is Strange, we have those moments where you could just take your time and enjoy the moment. And this is one of those in Captain Spirit, where you can just be this kid on top of his treehouse and looking at the scenery, enjoying the music. We're extremely happy to have the music you're hearing right now, which is the song Death with Dignity by Sufjan Stevens. And you will see that in Captain Spirit it has a certain meaning with the lyrics and the way we are using the songs through the game. And of course you will experience again those kind of moments where you can just enjoy the passing time and look at the scenery and be with the character.
I've always loved the Zen moments, and the music choices that you guys make for this franchise are just they fit so perfectly. At what point in the development cycle are you guys looking at, you know, what kind of composition and what kind of artist to work with? Do you kind of maybe hear an artist and picture a scene, or is it the other way around?
I think it's mostly trying to find the right music for the story, for the characters, for the moment. Be it a cutscene, the end of an episode, or an important narrative moment in the game. But we also are looking a lot at the lyrics, and of course there is a lot of artists that we really like. We also like to sometimes push a bit some artists we like so they can be known by the players. But it's really mostly trying to fit the right music to accompany the cinematography. And the other creative director, Raoul Barbet, is working a lot on those moments. So I think he's doing a really great job at finding the right music for the right moment and trying to really push the narrative forward with the use of music.
Are you guys going to be doing any kind of a soundtrack or anything for this game? Or is it too short for that?
I think it's also too early to talk about it.
I'm just asking all the top secret questions.
No, I would love to, but something that we'll have to see with Square Enix.
Well, we'll keep you guys posted on that. I wanted to ask, so obviously, you know, Chris is young. You know, he's close to 10, so he's 9.
Almost 10.
So different thematic theme than Life is Strange, where everyone's teenagers. I think it's easy to say that Life is Strange clearly dealt with, you know, a lot of mature themes and maybe was geared at an older audience. Because Chris is a younger protagonist, is this going to be a game that you think is more accessible to kids of a younger age, or does it still feel pretty mature in theme?
I don't have a perfect answer for that. I think for me that at least each time parents should play the game before and see by themselves if they think it's good or not for their kids. I think that most of young teens could play it, but it's really, I would say, for the appreciation of the parents.
That's always very good advice.
Yeah, I think there is no gore or no shocking visual moments for sure, but there are still themes or situations that definitely a parent should see by themselves before to see if they're ready to talk about that with their kids or not. I think that's the best advice.
Is there a part of this game that you're particularly proud of or particularly excited for fans to experience?
I think for me, what I like the most about Captain Spirit is that I'm really proud of having a kid as a protagonist. I think that's something that you don't have often, and I was really happy to try to see how we could create a character that a lot of people could relate to, because we have all been kids, and trying to put this kind of both our own memories, because you've seen a lot of sequences, Captain Spirit, where he's playing with toys or stuff like that, so we had to look at our own memories, at what we were doing when we were kids. And we also had to work with kid actors, both for the motion captures and the voice acting. And it was a really great experience to work with them. When we were recording the voice sessions, I was presenting the script to the voice actor and seeing with him if he saw that he felt true. And we were working with him to sometimes rephrase the lines just to be sure that it felt lines that a kid would say. Because as writers, we are not kids anymore, and sometimes it's hard. You don't hire a kid to write the line. We are trying to write the best lines that a kid would say, but what's best after that, to work with a kid to be sure that it works.
Oh, that's a part of the original Life is Strange that I really love. You guys kind of really nailed this, like, Pacific Western, like, kind of vibe, even down to the use of, like, hella, right? You know, it was one of those things that it felt natural, right? And so it's awesome to hear that you were working with your actors to really kind of get that tone authentic.
Yeah, we're really trying to work a lot with our French writer and our American writer, Christian Divine, and of course with the voice director and the actors, to be sure that everything feels natural. I mean, when we're in the recording sessions with our voice director, we are really letting the actors adjust some of the lines if they really felt that it's weird. So we are sure that it feels natural.
Well, Michel, this has been so great to chat with you about the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit. Again, it is coming very soon.
Yeah, it's coming on the 26th of June on Xbox One, PS4 and PC, and it's completely free. So we really hope that you will give Captain Spirit a chance, and even if you don't like it, it's free, so it's not a big deal.
You didn't waste anything, but I have no doubt that they will like it, based off what I've gotten to see so far and what we've obviously showed here. So thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for coming out and joining us today here at the Coliseum. And we'll see you June 26th, I guess.